Okay, so basically the purpose of today's lesson is to go through all of Act 2, to make some notes, to look at evidence and analysis that we can use in essay topics, okay? So we're going to start with scene 1, and we really will go through this quite quickly. So have your pens out, watch carefully. Act 1 is where we get introduced to the character of Billy. Okay, you can see here, they arrive at Moore River Settlement. Remember that when we left at the end of Act 1, we'd just finished off with the family being sent by train and Gran saying, "I'm not going by train," and standing up to the authority. And now we've got them arriving in Moore River, and the family are approached by a tracker, Billy Kimberley. Now, Billy is a really interesting character. He smokes a pipe and he carries a whip. And you've all read it, so you know about Billy. He introduces himself straight away. "Morning, morning, God, who the friggin' hell are you? I'm a policeman named Billy Kimberley." Okay? So I want you now just to talk to the person next to you. Why do you think Billy introduces himself as a policeman? Is he a policeman? Gran later on says, "You ain't policeman, you just black tracker." Why does he want to be a policeman? Why does he introduce himself as a policeman? All right, talk to the person next to you. I'll give you 10, 15 seconds. Go. All right. So any ideas? Okay, so authority figures like policemen in the white world, the white community. What do you think a policeman has? Not necessarily money, but
Power.
okay. So status, respect, yes? Safety, security, all right? So the fact that he introduces himself as this begins our complicated understanding of the character of Billy. And we really come to understand that Billy is a character that is caught in between two worlds. He doesn't belong in the Aboriginal world. And later we'll see in this, I think it's scene 6, he described how his entire family were massacred, killed by white people, okay? But at the same time, he has now become like a slave to the white people, who does whatever he's told, all right? He carries a whip. Now, I thought this was a really important point. So, carrying a whip, the whip is a symbol, or it symbolises slavery. Yes? So the whip is a symbol of slavery. Okay? The whip could be symbolising power, but I'm thinking about Billy carrying this whip. It's a symbol of white authority. It's a symbol of white taking slaves, making slaves of the Aboriginal people, and he is carrying this symbol with him. So I've written some little notes here, which you can say. Billy symbolises someone caught between two worlds, the Indigenous and the white community, and the whip is used as a symbol of slavery and white control. He wears it and he uses it. Okay? Does that make sense? All right, so we can keep going. And I wanted to ask you this question. CC says about Billy. God, he's black. He ain't black, he's purple. What do you think it means? Take 10 seconds, tell the person next to you what you think it means. He ain't black, he's purple. Go. Alright, but what might it symbolise? What might it stand for? So ideas? Anyone? Yep, Cece. Billy, he's not, I agree, he's not white, not black, he's caught between. He's between the two. True. I really don't know what Davis means by this. I really was like, I don't know, what does purple mean? Is it because he's been bruised? So whether or not David means this, so David is the one saying it, maybe Davis, the playwright, is suggesting something to do with the abuse. Yes? Bruising and abuse. Perhaps. Okay? So Davis may be using David's line to hint at his history of abuse. Perhaps. Okay. Can I continue? Yep. All right. Whoa. Sorry. Don't forget I am recording this so you can look over it later. Okay, anything you don't get now we can... So they start to unpack. Now I didn't write a scene translated of the Aboriginal words, but like anything. That's not to say that there might not be anything. You may have highlighted something yourself, but I personally thought, no, it's all right. Scene 2, they go down to a water hole. They're going to get some water. And Joe meets Mary. Ah, Joe says, "G'day." Mary says, "Hello." Can't you see the romance beginning? No. Yes. G'day, you know. Good day. Yeah. G'day. That's not the way that you would normally write it. That is. Yeah, well, we could write g'day, but we would write it usually like this. That's how we normally write it. It's a very Australian slang. Yeah, my particularly Australian people would. Like my dad would say g'day to lots of people. G'day, mate. G'day. You know, so you might hear it. But people who might be more recent immigrants maybe wouldn't use it so much. Like, I don't think I'd ever hear my husband say g'day. It's just not something that a Malaysian Australian wouldn't do. Okay? So Joe and Mary like each other, basically, is scene 2. Scene 3, I have started to make some more notes. I've noticed Billy poking his whip. So he's using his whip to try and get David to shut up. You shut up now. Okay? Now here, matron is looking at the health of the... Remember, because what was the reason they were all sent there? They thought that they had scabies, which was the fake reason. So now they're in... Matron means the head nurse. Okay? The head nurse, or the boss and the nurse. So matron is checking them out. So she says, seeing you came here for health reasons, I'd just like to examine you. Yes? What for? If there's any skin complaints, Granny, scabies, we ain't got it. Yeah? Even the dogs ain't got it. Yeah? So they're saying we're healthy. Now, Billy, what I have noticed here, and you will notice this also, Billy has very broken English. Okay? That although he is a representative of the white man, okay, his limited English, his broken English demonstrates that he certainly linguistically, in terms of his language, he doesn't fit in that community. Okay? You be quiet now. Matron make you sick. No, sorry. Matron make you no more sick fella. Okay? That doesn't even make grammar sense or language sense, but we get what he means. Yeah? Matron make you no more sick fella. What you yakking about? We ain't sick. And here, Billy threatens Joe nervously with the whip. Now, I thought this was really interesting. I've highlighted it. So Billy is threatening Joe with the whip, okay? But he's not confidently threatening him. He's threatening him nervously, okay? Although he's wearing the symbol of white power, white control, he's not doing it confidently. He's doing it nervously. Okay? Does that make sense? So, if we have a look here, I've written a little note. A stage direction. Billy threatens Joe nervously with the whip. Indicates that although he uses the symbol of white slavery and control, he does this without confidence or authority. Make sense? Okay. So you've all got these notes too. So don't panic about having to write it down. You can read it later. You can watch the video again later. But just try and understand this, he threatens Joe nervously with the whip. Not confidently, but nervously. Okay? What I really started to notice is that Billy, we know that Billy's a victim. He's people kid. Survival. So he's trying to survive. Okay? And his way of surviving is by becoming a helper slave. Like a slave. Who does what the white man tells him to. Okay? But it is about self-preservation or about survival? Yeah? Self-preservation means the same as survival. Alright? So, matron examines them. And then, we'll come over here. And wrong with them. Okay? They're all healthy. This interact page 55. The Gran says to Joe, show matron your belly button. Go on. You all know what your belly button is. Your belly button is this button here. Do you need... Please don't. This thing. Oh. teachers do for the students, okay? Show matron your belly button. She pulls Joe's shirt up. What do you think Joe thinks? Joe's like, oh, Gran, so embarrassing. Yeah? And Gran says, isn't that the neatest belly button you've seen? Have a look, matron. I brought him into the world with me own 2 hands. Okay? I think, so Gran was there when Joe was born and brought him into the world herself. No doctors, no hospitals. True? I've written, Gran is quite capable without white people's medicine. Shows family love. It shows pride in traditions. Yes? So we've got showing love of family, but also pride in their own traditions. Self-sufficiency. They can look after themselves. They don't need help. Okay? There is this view amongst the white community that Aboriginal people need help. And Davis is using characters like this who are very capable of looking after themselves, that don't need help, to challenge that assumption. Okay? Gran shows she doesn't need any help. She can get the neatest belly button on her own. Gran says, I brought plenty Kulunga into this world, matron. I brought many children into this world. Okay? And then matron says, how many dogs you got in the camp? Sam says, oh, just a couple. Billy says, they got that many. 7. Yeah? So he's dobbing. He's betraying his people. He's not protecting them. Okay? And again, he's protecting himself. Okay? Betraying his own people. Black Crow, they call him. Black Crow. Dobbing, like to dob on somebody. If anybody that did on the waterfront with me last year, you know that you dob, you tell the authorities. So betraying their own people. He is betraying his own people to protect himself. Alright? And so Joe, David and Cece call him a black crow. Do you know last year on the waterfront we had a canary? Because they sing? I reckon black crow might be the same thing. Yeah? Singing. Himself. He's protecting himself. Okay, can I move on? Scene 4. Scene 4, where Joe and Mary are talking. Here, Joe from the same is from the same people. Okay, then where Joe. Okay, there's 2 different languages that they speak. Okay, so the northern word is Wejella. The word from up north, from her area, is Gudea. Okay? She says, Matron and Sister Eileen are all right. They try to be nice, but I don't like Mr. Neal. He scares me. They're starting to foreshadow Mr. Neal's character and establish him. The implication is he has bad intentions. He is immoral. Mary says, I don't like the way he looks at me. Okay? Now, I don't want you to use the word bad here. Okay? he is a bad man, or, I like, instead of bad, use the word immoral. Okay? Bad is a word we use in kindergarten, grade prep. Okay? Immoral is more a senior school word, secondary school word. Okay? So Davis paints a picture of Mr. Neal as immoral. All right. At the bottom of that page, Mary tells the story of her friend. Going for Gudea. Why not, Joe says, be better than this place? No, she says. Some of them Gudea's real bad. My friend went last Christmas. She came back, Ujadi, pregnant. Okay? Remember, this connects to what Mr. Neville said at the beginning of Act 1, which was that 80 women went out and 30 came back in pregnant condition. But this... So she said, you to belt her up, force her. That's rape. Okay? They kicked her out. And when she had that baby, them trackers choked it dead. So when she had the baby, they killed the baby and they buried it under the pine trees. So we're connecting to what Mr. Neville said, but this now has a personal face. All right? So this scene has the really ugly reality, and in some ways a picture of despair, hopelessness. When Mary tells the story of her friend, this is a really ugly situation of rape and murder of a baby. All right? Now, in this scene, we have right next to the picture of despair and hopelessness, we have the picture of this sweet, innocent love between Mary and Joe. And Joe says, I'll protect you now. And Joe says, I don't like you, I love you. How beautiful is that? So, at the same time, we're having hope in this sweet love, friendship, and we have a picture of ugliness together. So we've got two images, contrasting images that Davis is showing the audience in the same scene. We might call that the juxtaposition. Juxtaposition means putting next to each other. The juxtaposition of contrasting emotions, hope and despair. Yeah? If you think about what effect that has on the reader, on the audience. As an audience, perhaps you can imagine the hope and despair felt by the Aboriginal people in their situation, and the contrasts in what they must feel. Does that make sense? Any questions? Anything that needs clarifying? move on. Remember, if you didn't quite get it, you can watch it again later. Scene 5, Mr. Neal has a hangover. Do you know, hangover is when you've drank too much alcohol and you get a headache. So Mr. Neal has been at the pub drinking too much alcohol. And he says to Jimmy, "What are you doing here? You're supposed to be in the quarantine camp." That's fine, if you need that one too. Quarantine camp, do you know what quarantine is? Quarantine is when you keep someone separate if they're sick. Okay, because you don't want the sickness to move. Okay, so they've made a quarantine camp for the people who are sick with scabies. He says, "What are you doing here? You should be in the quarantine camp. Aren't you sick?" Okay, Jimmy says, "Quarantine camp, my ass." Okay, you know that quarantine camp is a load of bullshit. Okay. And he says if fertiliser was in short supply, you'd make a bloody fortune. Now, Matron and Neal, now you know that Matron is Neal's wife, Mr. Neal's wife. Okay, so they're actually a couple. And we have the conversation, how many have got it? Scabies, Mrs. Mason, the 3 youngsters, 4 of them. Neal says, "What? Only 4? Yep. Are you telling me out of 89 dumped on me, only 4 have got the bloody disease? What's the bloody game?" Okay, so he's now finding out that this wasn't the real reason. But the reason he's angry is not because how unfair that these people were forced to move for a lie. His reason is, I've busted me gut, I've worked really hard to get this camp ready and now it's not needed. Yeah? So his anger over this unfairness, okay, is not, it's poor people that's so unfair that they had to move, but poor me, I worked really hard to get this camp ready and it wasn't even needed. All right? Very selfish motivations. So he's understood that this reason was a lie, but doesn't even care. Very similar to a lot of people who understood it was a lie, but were busy protecting themselves and not willing to stand up. So rather than calling Mr. Neville and saying, "Hang on a minute, you know, this isn't fair, you made these people move and they're not sick, we need to send them back," he doesn't do that. He's just angry that he worked hard to try and get a camp ready that wasn't needed. And then, as you see, what's more important, it's a waste of time, they could have been treated. Then he finds out about the dogs. What dogs? There's about 50 of them. Okay, no one told. Matron says there's 1 dog per family, and he says that's 1 too many. Then he goes to the gun cupboard, gets a rifle, which is a gun, and ammunition, bullets. He is not concerned about the lie that was used to force the Aboriginal people to relocate. He is more worried about the dogs and the fact that now he has to go and kill them. Questions? this one? I've said Mr. Neal is unconcerned. He is not concerned about the lie that was used to force the relocation of the camp. So another way of saying this might be, Mr. Neal doesn't seem to care that the Aboriginal community in Northam were forced to relocate because of a lie. He's not caring about that.
So you just follow the order from Mr. Neal.
Exactly. He doesn't stand up to it, but he also doesn't care about this. He cares more about the fact that there are dogs there than the fact that they were forced to leave their homes for no reason. Okay? So Davis is really showing his unfair, the thing that he cares about more seems so unfair to us. Even caring about the dogs is not fair. But surely you care more about the fact that, you know, these people have been forced to leave their homes, their entire life behind. Does that make sense? All right? And Billy helps by getting out what the rope. And an Aboriginal word for a death, but it's an Aboriginal to picture. All right. This picture here. If you have a look at your own, it's at the end of Act 2, page 73. Okay. A traditional Aboriginal dance party, you can picture the fire in the middle, the men painting themselves with traditional paint, okay, and singing and dancing. They might have clap sticks, where we clap a rhythm, a didgeridoo, yep, a didgeridoo, which is that long instrument made out of the tree, and a form of dancing to traditional songs and storytelling. Okay, it's a very important part of the Aboriginal culture. Okay. So, scene 6 is the corroboree. They're painting themselves, and it's interesting that Billy and Bluey come along as well. Okay. Bluey is like another worker there at a helper, Aboriginal helper there at Moore River Settlement. He doesn't really have much of a role other than in this scene, I think. In fact, I think in some versions of the play, the character doesn't even exist. And Jimmy sings a song, a traditional song. He says, that's my grandfather's song. He's singing for the crabs to come up the river. And Billy tells also, hey, eagle watching for a berry bush. So they're about getting food and things that are important to traditional Aboriginal people. And then they all dance Okay, this one, everybody dance, and they dance with energy, and Billy joins in. They stamp their feet and they whirl. They appear and disappear, and they firelight until it ends. Billy says, "This country got plenty good dance, hey?" And Jimmy says, "Oh, you at?" That means nothing. Not too many left now. Nearly all finish. All our dances, nearly all finish. You think dances might symbolise something here?
Freedom.
Culture, freedom, yeah? And he says not too many left, nearly all finished. Okay? So he's talking about their culture. So Aboriginal culture, Aboriginal freedom, maybe even Aboriginal people. Not too many left, nearly all finished. And Billy says, "No, no, no. You song man. Jimmy, you're the song man." He's the one who sang, yeah? "You fella dance man. This still your country. You. Listen. Good dear make fences, windmill, make 'em road for motorcar, big house, cut 'em trees down, but still your country. Not like my country. Finish. Finish." Okay? I think this is probably a very important thing that Billy is saying, that we actually see here that he is encouraging them to preserve their culture and saying, "You still have a chance. My country's finished. I have no hope, no reason to fight against them." You kind of maybe understand a little bit why Billy has become what he's become. Yeah? My country finished. Whoa. Why would I fight them anymore? He's really encouraging them. No, it's still your country. And now he says the tale of when white people killed his family. Now this word bin, you'll see a lot. It kind of replaces, it's in broken English or pidgin English, it replaces any tense of the word was, is, am, are, were, been. Even sometimes I think it might replace did and do. Okay, it's a basic verb. Okay, bin. So Gudea bin kill 'em. They did kill them. Okay, they killed them. My country, kill 'em. 1926, kill 'em. Big mob, my country. Why? Now this is a true story of the Umbulgari massacre. If you want, you can look it up. But what's important to understand is that Billy is retelling a true story. He's reminding the audience that this really happened. Reminds the audience, this really happened. It's history. Okay? If you Google it, this is what it's called, the Umbulgari massacre. What he says is that he was living in a station and ran a bit away, but his brother told him about these white people. There were 3 stockmen. And this one white man, Mr. George, was riding and he came to the river and he saw these 2 old women, Kooris, which means that they were Aboriginal women. Okay? And they're in the water hole. And he says, "What are you doing here?" And they say they're getting lily root, wudja, food. Mr. George say, "Where's the mans? They over there by that tree sleeping." And Mr. George, he got off his house and he big belt that old man. He flog him, till that white man, he get tired. And he broke the bottle glass spear and he broke the spear, and the man, he was bleeding. So the Aboriginal man was bleeding from the eyes. And he got up and he picks up that spear and he speared that Mr. George. Okay? So the Aboriginal man was attacked and he defended himself with a spear, and that white man, he'd get on his horse. You want to know what a spear is? It's a long stick. It might have something like that, and they throw it. He'd get on his horse, he'd go a little bit way, and he'd fall off, finish, dead. Okay. Jimmy says, serve the bastard right. And Billy says, no, bad for my mob. Real bad. Okay, that old man and his two Corys, they ran away. Okay, so those three, they ran away. But two white men came looking for Mr. George and they found him dead. Must be that many days. Big mob. Big group of white people. Big mob policemen, big mob from stations, and shoot 'em, everybody. Men's, Corys, little Yumba. So men, women, children. Okay. They chuck 'em on a big fire. Chuck 'em in the river. So everybody they killed. Women, children. Jimmy says, anybody left? Your mob? And mob is an Aboriginal word for group. Not many. We'll go another. Aboriginal there and him stays there. Why? You go there, night time, you hear him. I was there one time, I hear him. Mothers crying, babies crying, screaming. Why? Yeah? Now clearly he's talking about ghosts. That in that place there's the spirits of the women and the babies that died. Can I continue? Alright. So Joe says, alright, it's all over. They all go. It's all a bit sad, so they end up, and Mary was there watching them. And Mary says, she begins to cry. She says, Mr. Neal's trying to make me go work at the hospital. Joe says, what's wrong with that? You get better food. And Mary says, when Mr. Neal sends a girl to work at the hospital, it usually means that girl for himself. Everyone knows, even the Wajala, stinking low down bastard, I'll kill him, I'll smash his head with a dog, filthy pig, you're not going anywhere near that hospital. He reckons he'll send me home because I'm a give girl. And I think that is a girl who's promised to be married to somebody, or meant to be. Mr. Neal's not going to let us get married. Says we're doing this tonight, right this minute. So they decide to run away. He says, where are we going to go? Joe says, we'll go home to Northam. What about your mum and dad? We'll tell them now. Come on, I'll show you my country. Got a big, beautiful ones. Now it's really significant that Joe stands up here to defend Mary after the corroboree. It's almost like the corroboree has helped him to become a man. That tradition of telling stories and dancing and painting themselves is an important part. It's called a rite of passage. Rite of passage. But through that, after the corroboree, okay, after the corroboree, Joe stands up to defend his woman. It's like he's become a man. Yeah? He's not a boy anymore, he's a man. After the sharing of stories, the dancing, the singing of the corroboree, he then takes this stand to protect his woman. All right? Okay, scene 7. Scene 7, they tell Mum and Dad that they're going to run away. And Millie says, can't stay here. What's she doing here? She's a girl. So she's not from the camp, she's from inside the compound, which really emphasises this, she's that, I'm this, these definitions of identity that the white society have tried to even place on Aboriginal people. And Jimmy says, that's right, nephew. You run away. Clear out. Jail's nothing. Only a win if you get gone. Don't worry about it. Jail's nothing. It's just the Wajella thing. Kind of explaining too, he's been in jail so many times, but it means nothing to him. Okay. And Jimmy tells him, you can jump the train, the Rattler, about half a mile after Mogambe. Keep to the gravel country. He tells him how to get home. And we move to scene 8. The stage directions at the beginning of scene 8 here are important because Mr. Neal is reading a newspaper. It's 1933, the 10th of April, and the newspaper headlines are all about the election results. Remember the election that they were trying to win the election by sending the Aboriginal people away? Okay? But the Premier, Jimmy Mitchell, loses the northern seat. So he lost. Exactly as Jimmy predicted. He said them white fellas aren't going to vote for him because he got too many Chinamen working on his farm. Remember? He lost. The government routed, lost badly. Premier's gone. There's a new government, a bloody Labor government. Alright? Matron's saying, well, that's the good news. There's 2 natives that appear to... And they talk a little bit more. Finally, Matron says, you need to do something about the runaways. The people who've run away. What? Mary and Joe, they've run away. When? Well, Mary wasn't in the dormitory last night. Well, why didn't you tell me? They'll be miles away. Matron says, apparently, so top of page 68, you told her she was going to work at the hospital and stay in the nurses' quarters. It seems she was terrified of working in the hospital. Neal says they're all scared of the dead. Matron says, I think she was scared of the living. Okay? Now, I read this and I'm like, it's implied, but Matron knows the reason why she was scared. Yeah? So Billy says, I'll go find them. Never mind, shall I take the whip? Remember, the whip is this symbol of abuse. And he's carrying this himself. And this is the part, we have talked about this before, but Mr. Neal throws a stick of tobacco onto the floor like a dog. Picks it up. Disrespect. But, like feeding an animal. Inhumane treatment. Matron says, as the head nurse of the hospital, I thought it was my job to decide who's going to be a nurse. Mr. Neal says, I was only trying to help you. And she says, or yourself. She knows exactly what he is. Maybe she's also powerless to do anything though. This one says scene 10, but it's actually scene 9. It's a mistake. They are waiting for a train. They've fallen asleep at the railway line, and they find kwangdongs. Now, you just. I know, it sounds like a Chinese word, doesn't it? Yeah. Okay. If you do a Google image search, alright, so this is what kwangdongs look like. Alright, I guess they're a type of fruit. Wild fruit. I've never seen them before. But a traditional Aboriginal food. They call them wild peaches. Okay? A wild fruit. I don't know that you will know them. I just think they're a wild fruit that they're called kwangdongs. Okay? And Jo finds them. She eats them and begins to vomit. And I think first pregnancy. It's not about the kwangdongs being bad, but she's got morning sickness because she's pregnant. Later we discover that she's pregnant. Because she says, I've never been so sick like that in her life, and she's sick again. Right? You'll be all right once we're on the train. And Billy finds them. And he says, you too, silly fella. Silly fella, everyone run away and wait here for the choo-choo. Go back. I don't want to hurt you, Jo says. And Mary's still throwing up. She's supposed to marry somebody back north. She's promised to someone. We're going to give her to marry to an old man back in her tribe, in her mob.
So she is a giver.
I think that's an Aboriginal phrase because I certainly would never use it, but that's my interpretation. So Jo grabs the whip and he fights him. He takes the whip around his neck. So he uses the whip around Billy's neck and he starts to choke him. I'll kill him, I'll kill him. Give me the handcuffs. All right, and handcuffs. Mary throws in the handcuffs. They cuff Billy together and they throw the key away. Okay, but then after they've cuffed him, Jo puts the fruit puts his head. Do you want to see what I've written here?
Yeah.
I've noticed that I think although Billy holds this symbol of white power, the whip, he's not very good at using it. Okay? He's ineffective. Ineffective at using the white man's weapons. Alright? Not very capable. Not very good. But he does give him some fruit. And then this is the real scene 10. Done the whole act. Okay? As Billy comes back, the kids call again, Black Crow, Black Crow. Billy says, "Boss, come in," he says. What the bloody hell happened? Well, he been chucked me off my horse and he been knocked me silly fella with a waddy. Goodness, what happened? Well, he never caught Millie Murrah. Millie Murrah caught him. Okay? Look at Matron's beautiful. Oh, you poor man. Where's the keys? Mr. Neal, where'd you catch up with him? I've been finding Mullumbunny. Where they heading? And that fella been say he gonna hung me from Christmas tree like that. Hey, boss, you been taking handcuffs off now? Where are the keys? All right, which way did they go? They've been run along the train line. Train coming, woo-woo. All right, which way was the train going? Going along the train line, he says. I know that, you blithering Stone Age idiot. Okay, this is a real insult. Okay, you idiot. You Stone Age means like a, you know when people were almost monkeys? Back in the Stone Age where there was no metal, there was only stone. You Stone Age idiot. Now Matron, remember Matron's kindness is being shown here. Caring. Billy, was the train going this way or that way? And Billy, he been gone that way. Alright? So Neal's attitude, insulting, raising his voice, okay, isn't very effective. Matron's kindness is effective. And he points with his chin. He goes that way. You bloody fool of a man. Why did you let him jump the bloody train for? He'd been knocked me silly fella with a big stone. He'd been kill me here and here and here and in the guts. Oh, he bad fella. Desperately, almost in tears. Hey, boss, you been taking handcuffs off now? Get the keys out of his pocket. No key, boss. Where they? Don't know. That one, he been... Matron is now finding the Kwangdongs. Nah, hang on. Neal says, you bloody incompetent savage, that effing bad boy, that one. Matron has Kwangdongs, but no keys. Looks like a blacksmith job. You better send him down the hospital. I'll examine him. I'll give him some dinner. Matron looks at them, and she looks at the Kwangdongs. Billy says, they good tucker, missus. Tucker is food. Yeah, good food, missus. She laughs. Neal says, I don't see anything funny about this. Matron says, I know you can't. The final stage direction here. Neal and Billy walk off. Matron bites on a Kwangdong, but it is bitterly sour. She picks up the linen and leaves. Now, I really think her taking a bite out of this wild native fruit is symbolic, and it's more than just trying a fruit. Remember how before we said that dance symbolised the culture and freedom? Okay? Well, this also is symbolising native culture too, native experience. So by biting on the Kwangdong and finding it bitter, the symbolic nature, the symbol is she is trying the native culture, experience, and it equals sour, unpleasant. She tries it on, she doesn't like it, throws it away, all right, and just leaves. Sour and unpleasant. Okay, so the Kwangdongs are sour and unpleasant, and I don't know, I just really see something that's symbolic there, that she's trying it and it's not sweet, it's unpleasant. So perhaps Davis is using this Kwangdong to symbolise the bitterness of Aboriginal life. And she tries it, and it's too difficult, it's too unpleasant, too hard. Well done.